And let me, for the people who are just joining, let me just present a little bit of what I do. With this particular approach, the Holigral method is focused in the resolution of what we understand as trauma or definitive moments, meaning that we constantly are experiencing different situations that mark us. There is a before and after for those particular experiences. So through a set of exercises with patterns of questions, what I do is facilitate the client to navigate around their mind spaces in order to find these particular structures of mind from which these particular definitory moments changed us. So with this in mind, I would like to present first a particular model, because the work I do is based on the life cycles that we as humans and life as it whole experience. Time defines our experience. The sun rises and the sun goes down. And so we are born and then we die. Everything in life is related to life cycles. So this particular model, what we'll be offering is just an understanding that every life cycle has a particular structure and stages. These stages, in the terms of my model, are 7. The first, I would appreciate maybe you could mute your screen so I can speak clearly. Thank you. So these stages allows us to understand first and mostly that the initial conditions of every cycle are paramount. There are cultural influences or ancestral or legacy influences, meaning that previous life cycles have an influence on how we are going to evolve on any life experience. This particular model allows us to understand that once the requirements are set, my beingness is going to project into the world emotional energy, the concepts I have built intellectually about the world, and whatever relation I engage with, there will be a natural perceiver and object. And from that particular relationship, the object of my perception will reflect upon me. That will create a contextual experience from where the expression, my personal expression, my voice will emerge. And through that expression, my life, or the life cycle, better said, will set into a direction in order to manifest whatever the requirements of the cycle signal. If we want to make changes in our life, if we want to address our life more integrally, we need to go back to the basics and resolve any misorganization of the requirements of our life cycle. Some life cycles cannot be changed because we have been organically defined. For example, the conditions in our mother's experience, in the womb experience in the mother. The way my physicality develops in that stage might not be able to change. Nevertheless, the psychological structure can be readapted. So as you can see, if we can go back to the sources of any life cycle, whether it's a new project, whether it's a new romantic relationship, if we fix our own sense of requirements, then everything will flow nicely. So let's keep this in mind so we can explore further, because life cycles in our experience begins when the soul embodies the body in the moment of conception. At that particular time, what will happen is that we will be defined by the ancestrality of our fathers, for example, the DNA, but also the psychological experience around that particular influence. We will be influenced by the
Coach Jorge, please, if it's possible, in order to support our speakers, to check our microphones that we are muted. Just please have this awareness. Thank you so much. Yes, Coach Jorge, please.
Okay. So once we have embodied our soul in a particular body, the environment is going to influence us. Mother womb's environment will be determinant on how we behave. If we are in an experience where there is a lot of stress, a lot of chemicals, those influences will define how the baby will be developing at that stage. And so on, we have different cycles just like that one. We have different cycles, and each cycle will require different needs to be met. We might have needs in relation to our physical need for sustenance, food, safety, and so on. But eventually, as we grow old, those needs will be sophisticated further on. Let's explore further in a set of examples. Maybe we need to mute generally because there's a lot of noise. Okay, thank you. Are we okay? Fair. Okay. So if we are in a certain stage of life, let's say, for example, I am a already grown-up man, but I was in a particular experience as a baby or as a kid, in which I was neglected from love and security. That particular life cycle, when it finishes, will have an influence into an older self, and I might be needing to compensate that lack of love, that lack of recognition, with certain strategies in order to relate romantically or socially. So as we can see, there are influences from the previous cycles into the new ones. If I embark into a new project, let's say a new job, I will have an influence from the previous job I had, positive and negative, it doesn't matter. So we have to understand that the journey of the soul is defined by its cycles. But what does this mean in terms of our needs? Because the needs are constantly present in the cycles. For us, it's better to understand them from the perspective of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maslow defined this hierarchy in the late 40s, if I am correct, and he understood that there is a hierarchy that we are constantly trying to achieve. The physical and the safety needs, as you can see in the pyramid, are the most important, and particularly in these times, because we are into a stressed and fear flight situation mostly, we're focusing into meeting these needs. These needs mean that we need food, we need a space to live, we need sustenance, we need to cover our instinctual needs, for example, reproduction of ourselves like a species, sexual activity. In a higher degree of needs, we need the need to have a job in order to bring food to our table. We need a house in order to be secure. We need to be able to sustain our health. So those are the particular and most important needs that we need to address. In a higher level, we need social belonging. We need to connect with people because we are social beings. In that level of connection, it's where we have our friendship, our family, the need for intimacy. And there is a trick with this particular hierarchy of needs because, for example, if the needs are not properly organized, I might have a need to fulfill a sexual drive, but I might not be able to fulfill a need for intimacy, which is not the same. So in one sense, our life starts to lack of something rather to be thriving into a particular set of needs. And this is important because the hierarchy of needs is constantly feeding each other. In a higher esteem, in a higher level, we have the need to be, the need of esteem. We need to feel good about ourselves. We need to love ourselves. We need to feel confident about our skills and our sense of achievement. And certainly that will deliver a sense of respect and recognition. We're constantly striving to have that particular need. As the past example, for example, if we were neglected or shamed by our parents, I might have a low self-esteem. And with such a low self-esteem, my ability to perform, my ability to achieve, my ability probably to have intimacy with someone might be compromised. So again, as you can see, this particular hierarchy of needs is constantly interacting with each other. In the higher stage, we have the need to self-actualize. We are creative beings. We are moral beings. We need to foster those particular needs if we want to be sustainable as a society, as a family, as an individual. If I am too stressed and focused in meeting my safety and physiological needs, I might not be able to touch those creative areas of myself. And at some point, the lack of creativity in order to create new solutions might compromise my ability to be safe. So we need to step a bit back, clear our minds, release our emotions, and be able to navigate in a healthier way into the higher levels of needs. If we are able to be creative about the problems we need to solve, we will be more sustainable. We will be in a thriving modality of life rather into a stressful and very, very close relation with life and with ourselves. So in order to fulfill these particular needs, our daily operation goes in a particular way. First of all, we need to understand that there is a structure of mind. This structure of mind is created in relation of the particular definitory moments we experience. If I have an ancestral influence, for example, and I will use my cultural background, in Mexico, we are still suffering the trauma from the Spanish coming and conquering the native cultures. Until we don't solve that socially, we're going to have a lot of problems locally. So we need to be mindful of the strong ancestral influences that we are holding from our own particular countries, nations, religions, and so on. There might be traumas in the way we are defining our needs. Maybe our needs are physiologically not aligned with ourselves. For example, if my womb experience was not nourishing enough, I might have certain deficiencies. For example, in the way my body develops, my muscle would not be very strong. So that would be an important definitive moment. So there are certain moments in life that they are so strong, so intense that emotionally we cannot cope with them and we dissociate. What does this mean? A part of us, an energetic part of us, is fragmented and is left away from our body, as if our soul is not properly embodied. When there is dissociation, we cannot access certain aspects of self. For example, a little kid who is creative and wants to play the piano and he wants to sing and is very inclined into arts, goes to his father, and then the father shames him because that's probably not accepting from a patriarchal sense of being. And the kid is going to understand that as a neglect, and the kid might repress that particular creative aspect of self rather than foster it. So we need, and this probably, not probably, this is the most important aspect of healing ourselves, is to reintegrate those particular dissociated aspects of self. And naturally, we are going to readapt in life because sometimes we adapt in a wrong way. Let me give you an example. If I live in a very tough neighborhood where everybody is in a gangs, I might turn myself a bit violent or aggressive as a way of surviving around that environment. That might work properly in the context of my living in the neighborhood, but might not be very helpful if I am very aggressive in my work, in the relation with my spouse, and so on. So I need to readapt, to release myself from that maladaptation in order to adapt better into the environments we are participating. Sometimes the trauma comes as learning experience in some forms is traumatic. What I mean is that sometimes the learnings we hold are outdated, they are not complete, or they need to improve. So we need to constantly review what learnings we have attained and how we see that we can upgrade them better. There are some learning traumas that are related with school. School is a dangerous place. We place our personal power in the figures of authority. So the teachers are usually training us to be obedient to the figures of power. So we lose our personal power because we give it to someone else. So we need to correct that as well. Sometimes the trauma is about our identity. For example, maybe I am a policeman and I'm very tough and strict in the street, but when I go home, I cannot be empathic with my kids, and that is a problem because if I'm not empathic, my kids won't have the right upbringing. So I need to understand that I have to change my identity from one place to another, and that might not be very easy. Every aspect of this trauma have requirements, so we need to address them as well. Sometimes the traumas are about bad habits. Maybe we smoke a lot, maybe we bite our nails, Maybe I have the habit of interrupting my other persons when we are interacting. Maybe I have a bad habit of being authoritative. So we need to review how is it that my habits are serving myself, and particularly how are they are aligned or not to this hierarchy of needs. And then there are the retiring traumas, which is the ability or inability to finish the cycles. Some people, they use something and they throw it to the street rather to the waste bin. They don't know how to finish properly the cycle. We can see this in the way that humanity is destroying nature. There is an island of plastic pollution in the Pacific Ocean, for example. So we are not retiring our consuming cycle properly. Maybe sometimes we've lost a dear one. We lost a loved one, we lost a relative, and we cannot finish off our particular experience of I don't have the English word, when it needs to close the cycle when someone dies. Some people are carrying that particular trauma throughout their lives, and they cannot restart a new life. Maybe someone is a widower, and we cannot release from our past marriage, and we're not being able to meet someone else and keep relating in life properly. So as you can see, these structures are the ones that drive our behaviors unconsciously. We need to heal them. And through these experiences, unconsciously, we're constantly in a situational awareness cycle, which is the OODA loop. We're constantly, through our mind structures, our conscious and our unconscious needs, going to place our focus in whatever is going to help us to meet those needs. Once we fix our focus into that object of observation, we need to orient ourselves. So we have to make use of our emotional information, what the body tells us. If I am stressed and closed, if I am open, if I feel something in the gut, I need to orient myself according to the signals that my mind body gives me. My orientation also has to be in relation to my past learnings. Maybe those learnings are professional learnings, maybe are learnings related to a particular relationship or an environment, maybe a cultural background. It's like a compass. Once I orient myself, there is a unconscious process of decision making in which I will take care of myself, looking to meet, to behave in the right way to fulfill my needs. This cycle then will feed back itself. There is a trick with this cycle. If we have got clarity of mind, the cycle won't be virtuous, it will be vicious. So when we are in this particular cycle of awareness, sometimes, depending on the context, the needs we are trying to meet are going to give us not a very sustainable cycle of awareness. So whenever we are behaving in order to meet those needs, we're going to have a little bit of trouble. So the nature of what we need to do in order to create a constant cycle of virtuosity for us is to clean our mind. That means that we release our emotional patterns that fix us into patterns of behavior. We need to attain clarity of cognition in order to perceive things properly in the way that we can orient ourselves efficiently and effectively. And when we do that, we clear ourselves and we can reach a higher degree of performance so our decisions are efficient and sustainable. And when we do that, by nature, our behaviors are going to be the right behaviors in the right time, in the right place. We don't need to be mindful of this. We need to create the clarity of mind for us to attain this naturally, because nature is perfect. We see this when we see a tree growing and giving fruits. We see it in the nature of animals interacting themselves. We are not different to the creation of this universe. We just need to organize our needs, because this is the basic spiritual journey that we are embarked on. And with this, I would only make this particular question for us to contemplate spiritually, of course, where is it that we are going? So we need to learn better about ourselves in order to have the right direction for us to have this successful process. And with this, I will close my presentation. I hope I have bring us a better understanding on how we can reach a better or more resourceful self. And I would love to keep conversating in the question and answers section after we finish presenting. And now Galina will share us a perspective from the neurological aspects of how we meet our particular goals in life. So thank you very much. And Galina, the stage is yours. Thank you.